Peace, and welcome to the 5-Minute Review series. Today's episode is all about the Miracle Piano. How does it sound? Can you make a decent song with it? Is it worth buying for any reason at all? We'll answer those questions and more. First released in 1990 for the outrageous price of $500. And to put this into perspective, that's over $1,200 today. Each keyboard came with one game. Depending on which version you bought, it was compatible with one of these machines. It will also come with a cable to connect to said console. However, if you want to use it just as a keyboard, you don't need anything but the power supply. The entire keyboard has a total of 8 buttons and a power switch. It's a toggle switch, so be careful. Out of those 8 buttons, you have volume up and down, and the remaining 6 buttons are for different sounds. We'll get to that in a moment. There's no other buttons as far as preset patterns, no pre-made breakbeats, no pre-made anything. There seems to be some exaggerated truth in some of these facts. I wouldn't say false advertising, but some of these features are only available through the game itself. When it comes to the ports on the keyboard, it does output in stereo. However, I don't see anything that actually utilizes stereo sound. Both channels output the same signal. I guess it's nice because you can hook into modern systems without any adapters, but there's no panning left and right. You do have a headphone jack next to the audio, so that's a nice addition if you don't want to disturb anyone. One odd feature on this thing is the fact the volume will never go completely quiet. The only way to do so is to use the headphone jack. The button alone will not mute the volume. There are MIDI ports in and out, but that's hardly anything special. Any halfway decent keyboard has these 2 ports. Next to the power switch, you have a spot to plug in the foot pedal. The foot pedal is used to activate the sustain feature. Basically, it extends the duration of the notes after you release the keys. Another nice addition. I'll never complain about more options and more features. One interesting port on the back is this Miracle port. This is to connect the Miracle Piano to whichever console or computer you're gonna use it on. This only matters while you play the game. This is not used for anything else. The last thing on the back is the power port. It's a typical barrel plug and it's 12 volts, 1 amp. Easily replaceable if lost or broken. It's actually the same size as the NES power supply. However, it's not the exact same voltage, but it's a nice temporary fix. So now let's go back to those 6 buttons on the front. Each one is a different instrument. Here's a quick rundown and example of each sound on the keyboard. The keys are not weighted, they feel kinda cheap, and they are quite loud. The housing of the keyboard is the same way. It's kind of light, has a little bit of a cheap feel, and it's very noisy. One cool thing about the software, there's around 50 example songs, and about half of those have orchestral mixes. So you can see what the keyboard is capable of, but only when it's connected to a gaming system. I cannot stress that enough. And while most are public domain, there's a few that stand out. I really like the Green Sleeves rendition, and there's also a Star Wars theme. Here's a quick example. I'll put the full themes on Patreon. To sum it up, this might be a good purchase for a collector, and only a collector. I can see how someone might want to add it to their collection. However, this was marketed more as a teaching tool rather than a keyboard for producing music, So for a music producer or composer, it's very limited. While its MIDI functionality does offer some flexibility, that's nothing special. It's a common port. And when you can find keyboards for $20 to $30 that have the same functions, and a lot of the times even more functions, this is not a logical option. I think they missed a huge opportunity. Imagine if they included the same sound chips as the consoles they were used for. Think about a keyboard full of NES or SNES sounds, or one full of Sega Genesis sounds. This keyboard's legacy would be 100% different, and I think people would still be looking to buy them to this day. Back then, maybe it made more sense. You buy a game, it teaches you piano, and you get a full functioning keyboard as well. It seems like a pretty good deal until you see the $500 price tag. With that, I gotta say, go get something else. Last but never least, shout out to Golden Tier patrons Bear Sona, Quantum X, MJJ, Shadow Just, and FancyJ. I am ICC. Thanks for watching. Peace.